Hey everyone, welcome back for another deep dive with us.
Yeah.
Today we're going all the way to Nepal. We're going to be talking about English language teaching in Nepal and how these teachers are
Bringing in some cool new technology.
doing some really cool technology to improve their teaching.
Absolutely.
This deep dive is based on a presentation that was given at the ELTAI conference just last month in October 2023 by Damar Singh Saud. He's an assistant professor at Far Western University in Nepal. And he's done some really interesting research on the experiences of English language teachers, or ELTs as they're called for short, and how they are integrating information and communications technology, or ICT, into their classrooms.
You know, it's always fascinating to me to see how educators around the world are kind of merging these centuries-old traditions of teaching with these cutting-edge digital tools.
Yeah.
And it's especially interesting in a place like Nepal where you have this kind of, you know, this really ancient culture, and all of a sudden you're bringing in, you know, the internet and smartphones and things.
Yeah, and that's actually a really good point you brought up right there, because in Nepal, English is considered a foreign language, but it's really vital for higher education.
Oh, absolutely.
And professional opportunities.
Yeah, English fluency really can be a game changer for so many students in Nepal. It can open doors for them, connect them with like the wider world, give them access to all these different possibilities.
Yeah. So before we kind of jump into the specifics of Saud's research, let's quickly define ICT, because I think there might be some people who aren't super familiar
good point.
with what that means.
Yeah.
So in an educational setting, ICT is basically using technology to share knowledge and enhance learning. UNESCO actually defines it as the electronic tools and systems that are used for information exchange.
Okay.
So you can think about things like computers, software, the internet, mobile phones, all being used to manage and share information.
And, you know, these tools, they have the potential to really revolutionize how languages are taught and learned.
Absolutely.
And it's a really exciting time to be looking at this field.
Yeah. And, you know, Saud's research is focused on a remote district of Nepal called Darchula. And there's been very limited research on ICT use in schools in this region.
Interesting.
Now, it's really important to understand the specific challenges and successes in different regions, because that's how we can like create really effective ICT integration strategies.
It's all about context, you know?
Yeah, totally.
What works in one place might not work in another.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's important to have that nuanced understanding.
Yeah, for sure. So one of the things that Damar Singh Saud found was that ELTs in Nepal, especially in Darchula, have overwhelmingly positive attitudes toward using ICT in their teaching.
Now that's encouraging to hear.
Yeah.
Because sometimes there can be resistance to new technologies, especially in education where things have been done a certain way for so long. But it sounds like these teachers are really embracing the potential of ICT.
Yeah, and I'm kind of curious, you know, what's driving that positive outlook? Is it just like the excitement of using new technology, or is there something?
I think it goes deeper than that. You know, I think these teachers, they see the power of technology to fundamentally change how students learn.
Yeah.
They see it as a way to create more engaging lessons, provide students with essential digital skills, and cater to the diverse needs of their learners. Yeah. You know, they're really thinking critically about how technology can best serve their students.
That's a really great point. And actually, Saud included some really powerful quotes from the teachers that he interviewed.
Oh, I'd love to hear some of those.
Yeah, so one teacher said, and I quote, "ICT allows us to cater to diverse learning needs through multimedia and interactive content."
Wow.
And then another teacher emphasized that it helps them develop digital skills, which are crucial for students in today's world. So it's really clear that these teachers aren't just blindly adopting technology. They're really thinking about how it can help their students.
Yeah, they're being very intentional about it.
Yeah, totally. And speaking of those richer learning experiences, Saud's research also dives into some specific ways that ICT is impacting classrooms in Darchula.
I'm all ears.
So one of the most significant findings is how ICT is being used to boost student engagement.
Yeah, engagement can be a real challenge sometimes, especially when you're dealing with traditional teaching methods.
Right.
So I'm really curious to hear how ICT is making a difference in that area.
Yeah, so, you know, think about it. Instead of relying solely on textbooks, teachers can now use videos, audio recordings, interactive online platforms.
It's like opening up a whole new world for these students.
Totally. It's bringing the world into the classroom.
Yeah, exactly.
And, you know, it helps them connect with the material in a more engaging way.
And when students are engaged, they're more likely to learn and retain information.
Absolutely.
So this is really exciting.
Yeah. And Saud's research actually goes beyond these general observations about engagement and gives us some concrete examples.
Oh, I'd love to hear about that.
Yeah, so he found that even in areas with limited internet access,
right,
teachers are using mobile data to download English learning apps and games for their students.
Oh, wow. That's a great idea.
Yeah, and this has actually led to a really noticeable increase in student vocabulary and fluency.
That's fantastic. You know, it's a great example of how teachers are being resourceful and using technology in creative ways to overcome challenges.
Yeah, totally. And we also can't forget about online dictionaries and grammar checkers and translation tools.
Oh, yeah. Those are game changers for language learners.
Right. Especially when you're learning a new language.
Absolutely. They can really help with comprehension and vocabulary development.
Yeah, totally. But with any new approach, there are bound to be challenges, right? So what did Saud find out about some of the obstacles that ELTs face when integrating ICT in Nepal?
Well, I imagine one of the biggest challenges would be access to technology itself.
You are 100% right. So especially in a remote district like Darchula, there's a real lack of reliable internet connectivity.
That makes sense, especially in a mountainous region like that.
Yeah, and then on top of that, they also have to deal with like frequent power outages.
Oh, wow.
And equipment malfunctions.
So it's not just about having the technology, but also making sure it's working properly.
Exactly.
And that you have a reliable power supply.
Yeah, all connected.
Yeah, that's a huge challenge.
And then, of course, funding is always an issue.
Right.
You know, a lot of schools just simply don't have the resources to provide adequate technology for all of their students.
That's a common problem, unfortunately, even in more developed countries.
Yeah, absolutely. But despite all of these challenges, you know, I'm curious to know how these teachers are working around these obstacles.
It must be pretty resourceful.
Yeah.
I mean, you said they have a positive attitude, so they're obviously not letting these challenges defeat them.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that really stood out to me in Sal's research was this incredible resilience and creativity of the teachers.
Yeah.
So they're not letting these challenges defeat them. Instead, they're finding these innovative solutions.
Okay, so tell me about some of these solutions. What are they doing to make things work?
So, for example, one of the things that they're doing is sharing resources and collaborating with each other.
Oh, that's smart.
Yeah, so they're creating these informal networks to share lesson plans, educational apps, and even tips for troubleshooting like technical problems.
That's a great way to build community and support each other.
Yeah, totally. It's like building this community of support around ICT integration.
That's fantastic.
And then they're also getting creative with the technology itself. So remember how we talked about teachers using mobile data to download those apps and games? That's a prime example of their ingenuity.
They're making the most of what they have.
Yeah, exactly.
And finding ways to adapt technology to their unique context.
Yeah, totally. So before we delve deeper into like the potential solutions, I'd like to know a little bit more about Saud's research methods.
Yeah, I'm curious about that too. How did he gather his data?
Yeah, so he used a research method called hermeneutic phenomenology, which focuses on understanding the lived experiences of teachers.
Interesting.
So he conducted in-depth interviews with 4 experienced ELTs. And then he carefully analyzed their responses to find common themes and patterns.
So it's really about getting a deep understanding of the teacher's perspectives and experiences.
Exactly.
Not just looking at numbers and statistics, but really delving into the human side of things.
Yes, totally.
That's a really valuable approach.
Yeah. And now that we have a good grasp of the context and the challenges, I'm excited to learn more about the potential solutions.
Me too. Let's dive in.
That Saud highlights in the next part of our deep dive.
Sounds good. I'm ready for more insights.
Okay, awesome.
So one of the things that really stood out to me was how ICT can actually strengthen that bond between teachers and students.
Oh, interesting.
You know, we often hear concerns about technology leading to less human interaction.
Right.
But in this case, it seems like it's actually having the opposite effect.
Yeah. How so?
Well, ICT can create new avenues for communication and make it easier for teachers to provide personalized support.
Yeah.
So, for example, teachers are using messaging apps to answer student questions outside of class.
Oh, okay.
Or they're using online platforms to give individual feedback on assignments.
That's a great idea. It's almost like having a direct line to your teacher.
Exactly.
Which can be especially helpful for students who might be a little bit shy about asking questions in class.
Right. Or, you know, maybe they just need a little extra clarification.
Yeah.
And they don't want to interrupt the whole class.
Oh, right.
So this allows them to get that personalized attention.
Yeah, and Saud found that a lot of teachers in Darchula are using mobile messaging apps to stay connected with students and their families,
Oh, wow.
even in these remote villages.
That's really impressive.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it just shows how dedicated these teachers are to supporting their students.
Yeah, and it's really amazing how technology can break down those geographical barriers
Absolutely.
and create a more inclusive learning environment.
Yeah, that's a really important point. You know,
Yeah.
not all students have equal access to education.
Right.
And so technology can help to level the playing field.
Yeah, for sure. And this increased communication can also lead to stronger teacher-student relationships,
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
which we know is essential
Yeah.
for a positive and supportive learning environment.
It creates that sense of trust and rapport that's so important for learning.
Yeah. So it seems like ICT is helping to create a more personalized and accessible learning experience
It really does. Yeah.
for students in Nepal.
And you know, another really important finding in Saug's research is the impact of ICT on student motivation.
Oh, tell me more about that.
You know, we all know that motivation is key to learning,
Right.
but it can be so hard to get students excited.
Yes, especially when the material is dry or the teaching methods are boring.
Exactly. And that's where ICT can make a huge difference.
Yeah. So how does it work?
Well, traditional classrooms often rely on this teacher-centered approach, where the teacher is like the primary source of information.
Okay.
But ICT allows for a shift towards a more student-centered approach,
Oh, interesting.
where students can actually take ownership of their learning.
So instead of just passively absorbing information,
Right.
they're actually actively engaged in exploring and creating.
Exactly.
That sounds awesome.
Yeah, it's a lot more fun for students.
Yeah.
And it's a lot more effective, too.
Do you have any examples of how that might look in a classroom?
Sure. So imagine a classroom where students can use virtual reality to explore ancient ruins
Wow.
while learning about history. Yeah. Or they can create their own podcasts in English to share their stories and perspectives.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it's all about making learning relevant and exciting.
Yeah, and giving them a sense of agency, you know, in their own learning.
Exactly.
That's really cool. And Saud actually found that when students are given that freedom to choose how they want to learn
Okay.
and demonstrate their understanding,
Yeah.
their motivation just skyrockets.
That makes sense. You know,
Yeah.
when you're passionate about something, you're more likely to put in the effort.
Yeah, and he actually had this anecdote from a teacher
Mm-hmm.
who introduced a digital storytelling project in their classroom.
Oh, wow.
And the students were so excited to create their own videos in English that they were staying after school to work on them.
That's amazing. You know, it really shows the power of technology to spark that enthusiasm for learning.
Yeah, and it wasn't just about like the technology itself.
Mm-hmm.
It was about the creativity and the collaboration and the storytelling.
Right. They were learning valuable skills while having fun.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, even with all these benefits,
Yeah.
I'm sure there are still some concerns about the potential downsides of using technology in the classroom.
Oh, of course. You know, whenever you introduce something new, there are always going to be some challenges.
Right.
And one concern that often comes up is the potential for distraction.
Yeah, I can see that happening. I mean,
Right. I mean,
with access to the internet, it's easy to get sidetracked.
Exactly. It's so easy to just click on that next video or check your social media.
Right.
So it's really important for teachers to set clear expectations and guidelines
Yeah.
for technology use in the classroom.
So it's not just about giving them the tools, but also teaching them how to use those tools responsibly.
Exactly. It's about digital citizenship.
Mhm.
You know, teaching students to be respectful, responsible, and ethical online.
Yeah, I love that. Digital citizenship, that's a great way to put it.
And it's not just about setting rules.
Right.
It's about fostering a culture of responsible technology use.
I like that.
You know, where students understand the importance of using technology in a way that benefits their learning.
Yeah, for sure. And Saud actually gives some specific examples of how teachers are addressing these concerns in their classrooms.
Oh, I'd love to hear about those.
So, for example, some teachers are creating dedicated offline time during lessons
Okay.
where all devices are put away.
That's a great idea.
Right.
It gives everyone a chance to unplug and focus.
Yeah, and then another interesting approach is to involve students in creating the classroom technology guidelines.
Oh, that's smart.
So when students feel like they're part of the decision-making process, they're more likely to buy into the rules.
Right. It gives them a sense of ownership.
Exactly.
And they're more likely to take responsibility for their own online behavior.
Yeah, totally. So before we move on to the next part of our deep dive, I just wanted to kind of pause for a moment and
Yeah.
bring this back to you, our listeners.
Yeah.
Think about your own experiences with technology.
Have there been times when technology has really enhanced your learning?
Or made it more enjoyable.
Or maybe even times when it's been a distraction or a source of frustration?
Yeah, reflecting on our own experiences can help us understand, those complexities of integrating technology into learning environments.
Yeah, and make more informed choices about how we use these tools.
Right. So now let's continue exploring Saud's research.
Yeah.
And see what else we can learn about this dynamic interplay between
Yeah, I'm excited to hear what other insights he has to offer.
technology and language learning in Nepal.
Okay, let's dive in.
So one area that Saud delves into is the impact of ICT on assessment.
Oh, assessment. That's a big topic.
It is.
And it's something that's always evolving.
Right. And he argues that technology can be used to move beyond those traditional methods of assessment.
Okay.
And create more authentic and engaging ways to measure student learning.
Interesting. So what does he propose? Like, how can we use technology to make assessment more meaningful?
Yeah, well, traditional tests often focus on just rote memorization, but in the real world, we need to be able to apply our knowledge in practical ways.
Absolutely.
So think about projects, presentations, digital portfolios.
Right. Okay.
These are just a few examples of how technology can be used to create assessments that are more aligned with real-world skills
Like that.
and applications.
Yeah, it's about going beyond just memorizing facts and figures.
Right.
And actually demonstrating, understanding, and applying knowledge.
And Saud found that teachers in Darchula are embracing these new approaches to assessment.
That's great to hear.
Yeah, so they're using technology to create interactive quizzes, multimedia presentations, and even digital storytelling projects.
Wow, that's really creative.
Yeah, and it's all about, making assessment less about grades and more about feedback and growth.
Right, because ultimately that's what we want for our students.
Exactly. And ICT can actually make it easier for teachers to provide timely and personalized feedback.
Yeah, that's so.
So imagine being able to give each student specific comments on their work,
Oh, okay.
track their progress over time,
Yeah.
and then identify areas where they might need more support.
That's really valuable for students.
Right.
It helps them understand their strengths and weaknesses,
Mm-hmm.
and it motivates them to keep learning and improving.
Yeah. So it's about shifting from that model of assessment that's focused on judgment
Right.
to one that's focused on guidance and support.
That's a really powerful shift.
Yeah, it is.
And I think it speaks to the broader potential of ICT to really transform how we think about education as a whole.
Yeah, it's about moving away from this one-size-fits-all approach and creating learning experiences that are truly tailored to individual needs and goals.
And technology can play a key role in that transformation.
Absolutely.
It's a tool that can be used to personalize learning, empower students, and create a more equitable and engaging educational experience.
And it's so inspiring to see how these teachers in Nepal, even in these remote areas,
Yeah.
are really embracing these
The
possibilities.
dedication is amazing.
Yeah, it is. So before we move on to the final part of our deep dive.
Okay, I want to bring this back to you, our listener, one more time.
Yeah.
Think about your own educational journey.
Have there been times when you felt truly engaged and motivated to learn?
What sparked that enthusiasm for you?
Was it a particular teacher? A specific project?
Or maybe even a technology tool?
By reflecting on our own experiences, we can gain valuable insights into what makes learning meaningful and effective.
Yeah, and we can use those insights to create better learning experiences for ourselves and for others.
Exactly.
So now let's move on to the final part of our deep dive and explore Saud's thoughts on the future of ICT in education.
Sounds good. I'm ready to hear his vision.
And some key takeaways that we can all apply to our own learning journeys.
All right, let's wrap things up.
Yeah.
Okay, so what does Saud envision for the future of ICT in education in Nepal?
Well, he believes that ICT has the potential to truly revolutionize education in Nepal. And I think his research really gives some compelling evidence to support that.
Yeah, we've seen some really amazing examples already. Right. And he sees a future where technology empowers both teachers and students.
Yeah.
And creates this more
Yeah.
equitable and engaging and effective learning environment.
It's a really inspiring vision.
It is, and he envisions these classrooms where every student has access to personalized learning experiences
Wow.
that are tailored to their individual needs and goals.
That would be amazing.
Right. And he sees teachers using technology, not just for delivering information, but as a way to
Yeah.
foster collaboration and creativity and critical thinking.
So it's not just about using technology for the sake of using technology.
Right.
It's about using it in a way that really enhances the learning process.
Yes, exactly.
And helps students develop those 21st century skills.
Right, and it's a vision of education that's truly student-centered.
Yeah.
Where learning is driven by curiosity and exploration.
It's about giving students the tools they need to become lifelong learners.
Exactly. And one thing that really stood out to me was Saud's emphasis on the importance of, like, culturally relevant ICT integration.
Yeah. Oh, that's a really important point.
Because we can't just assume that the same tools and approaches are going to work in every context.
Right. Different cultures have different needs and values.
Yeah, and we need to be sensitive to those cultural norms when we're integrating technology into education.
And it's not just about being sensitive to different cultures.
Right.
It's also about leveraging the unique strengths of each culture.
Yes, totally. And Saud highlights the need to involve local communities in that process of ICT integration.
Oh, that makes sense.
To make sure that technology is used in a way that benefits everyone.
It's about creating a sense of ownership and ensuring that technology is used in a way that aligns with the community's values.
Right. And, it's about finding ways to blend the power of technology with the richness of local traditions and cultural practices.
That's a beautiful way to put it.
So as we wrap up our deep dive, let's distill some key takeaways that you, our listeners, can apply to your own learning journeys.
Sounds good. I'm ready.
So one of the most important takeaways, I think, is the importance of embracing a growth mindset.
Yeah, I love that.
And this applies to both learners and educators. Mm-hmm. It's about viewing those challenges as opportunities for growth, being willing to experiment, learn from our mistakes, and continuously seeking out new knowledge.
It's about being open to new possibilities.
Exactly. And technology can play a really powerful role in fostering this growth mindset.
Yeah. It gives us access to so much information and so many different learning tools.
Right. And then another key takeaway is the power of human connection.
Yeah. Technology can enhance learning in so many ways, but we can't forget that learning is ultimately a human endeavor.
Right. It's about relationships and mentorship and the shared pursuit of knowledge.
It's about connecting with others who share our passion for learning.
Yes. Think about the teachers in Darchula who are collaborating and supporting each other.
Yeah.
To overcome those challenges and create a more equitable learning environment for their students.
Their dedication is truly inspiring.
It is. And then finally, I think it's important to remember that technology is a tool. Mm-hmm. It's up to us to decide how we use it.
Right. We have the power to shape how technology is used in education.
Yes. And to make sure that it serves our goals and values.
So let's use it wisely.
So as you continue on your own learning journey, I encourage you to be curious, to be creative, and to be bold in your exploration of how technology can enhance your learning.
Yeah, and empower you to make a difference in the world.
This deep dive has been such an incredible journey exploring this intersection of technology and language learning in Nepal.
Yeah, it's been really fascinating to see how teachers are using technology to transform education.
And I'd like to leave you with one final thought.
Okay, I'm listening.
The future of education is in our hands. It's up to us to shape it to ensure that it's equitable and engaging and empowering for all.
So let's get to work.
Yes, and until next time, keep diving deep.
Thanks for joining us, and